How long you been at the studio?
We opened up in 2021.
Just you by yourself?
Yeah, just me in here. I got a big enough place to have more artists in here, but I just kind of wanted to do the solo thing for a little bit.
You want to introduce yourself or your shop name and your Instagram handle?
Yeah. So my name's Matt Sandoz. I currently work at my own studio in Largo, Florida, Studio Daruma. It's a private studio, just me in here. Opened up in 2021. Yeah.
How long have you been doing Tebori?
So I just started. It's been a long process learning how to get everything set up, how to make the needles and proper technique. I haven't trained under anyone. This is all self-taught, and then whoever has been nice enough to answer questions that I've had. I feel like I've been fortunate with that. I feel like there's, some people could be a little standoffish with insider kind of information, but I've been fortunate to meet some really nice people that know about Tebori that have helped me along the way. Read some good books, listened to some good podcasts.
You have a podcast on Tebori tattooing?
So not specifically like technique or anything, but Woboripedia. It's I can't remember the guy's name. Basically, he made a book that kind of explains like images in Wobori, and he started a podcast where he would have a lot of Tebori artists on, and a lot of guys from Japan and kind of all around the world. And yeah, they would really kind of open it up, share how they got into it and the process of learning it and why they like to do it. And that was, I feel like listening to all that and reading a lot about it, that's what kind of went from, I would love to do that, to, I can actually do that. I think I could learn how to do this. It's always been an interest, but I just never thought it'd be something that I could do. Like, I'm never gonna move to Japan and learn under a Horishi, just because of where I'm at in life. But I feel like that just kind of opened things up, made me look at it as a possibility.
That's what I was gonna ask. What made you want to get into this style of tattooing?
Yeah, I've always been into it. I was fascinated by this before I was apprenticing. Like, just the history behind it and the tradition with it. Obviously the meaning behind Japanese imagery and mythology. I feel like that kind of, it's easy to resonate when you don't know a lot about tattooing, because your first tattoos, everybody wants it to mean something. There's meaning with everything with Japanese imagery. So that kind of started it, and then seeing those old back pieces on I guess it wasn't on samurai, maybe like Yakuza or the old 1800s stuff, but you see those old pictures and you just really get a sense of like the tradition and how awesome that whole process was to sit through that and be, honored with that kind of image that's supposed to represent you or how you live your life. It's fascinating. So yeah, I feel like that interest has always been there. And then, as soon as I dove into it and realized that's something I could do, like I've been obsessed with it.
What are some of the differences between like Tebori and standard tattooing?
So it's, I mean, it's really handmade. Like that's kind of what the literal translation is like carving. Like it's a handmade process. You have to make the needles, like arrange the needles a certain way. You set up the nomi. Like it's very much a hands-on process that I think really appealed to me. But yeah, you're penetrating the skin a little different way. It's a certain motion that inserts pigment a little bit more. So it's less trauma to the skin, but with kind of more result, or just as much result as a machine. I guess more efficient would be the word, even though it's a slower process, but every poke counts. I mean, every time you do it, it gets more pigment in there. And then, obviously because of the process, I feel like the most intimidating thing with it, it looks jarring when you watch the process. You see videos of it, it looks pretty rough, but it's actually a lot easier to get a tabori tattoo than a machine tattoo. That's been the most common thing when I've done these, that they'll be nervous when they come in, and then as soon as we start, they're like, I've had people fall asleep, and just a lot easier. But yeah, it almost becomes therapeutic in a way. Just the constant motion, it almost kind of rocks your body into ease.
So you've always been into Japanese art?
Yeah, for better or worse. I had my phases when I first started. I think, I was really I always liked Japanese when I was getting tattooed. Then when I started apprenticing, it was like, I was into like new school and realism, but then, I don't know, these images, they always say, like the traditional stuff really lasts. Like it never changes, it holds up. And I feel like eventually getting more experienced in the tattoo world, that stuff did start to appeal to me, that kind of tradition. And especially seeing it on a larger scale is really impressive. So it's like, man, if I can get my career to that point, I feel like that's kind of the dream.
What are some of the downfalls of Tebori?
It's slow. It's a very slow process. I'm currently, because I'm just kind of starting with it. I'm just kind of getting comfortable with it. I do feel like every time I do it, I get a little more efficient with it. I'm able to kind of decrease my time. I do feel like doing smaller images, the hardest part is just the ins and outs of things. Like if I'm doing like a big piece of background, I can kind of get in a rhythm and fill a space pretty quick. But it's when I start to get to an edge, like a curve, like these little details, that's what slows the thing down. So you're having to like figure out the right kind of position you need to go in to get the skin taut enough. So yeah, it's just the time. I think that's the biggest difference.
What are you working on today?
So we're doing a Hanya. I'm gonna do it on a hand. So actually be my first hand tattoo with Tebori.
You've been doing a lot of Hanyas lately.
A lot of Hanyas. Done a lot of Hanyas. I've kind of got a process. I've figured out a way to color them that kind of cuts the time down, keep skin gaps and saturated areas more open and simple. I feel like that process works a little bit better.
So you talk about the meaning of these images. Do you know what the meaning of the Hanya is?
Yeah, I do. I mean, there's a looser translation is like kind of the passion. It's a symbol for passion, but if you really get down to the story, it's basically the the rage or scorn of a woman. So it's the whole story. Do you want to tell the whole story? So the full story, and again, is, you know, I'm sure there's probably parts that I'm wrong with this, but from what I've heard, so there was this lady that was having an affair with a monk in a monastery, and she fell madly in love with him, sent him a scroll that said, "Meet me at the riverbank and we'll run off together." Well, he didn't want to do that. He'd be banned from the congregation, so he just didn't show up. And in her rage, her face turned to this and her body turned into a serpent. Went to the monastery to find him, and he hid inside of a bell. And what she did with her body was coil around the bell. I guess it fell on top of him, so he was trapped. And her body heated the bell up where it killed him inside. You know, I guess that's the kind of the, when you look at a Hanya face, it kind of looks angry, kind of looks sad. There's the furrow in the brow. It's kind of both ways. So it's the anger, but the hurt all in one, just that passion and rage. So I guess that's like the actual background. But yeah, usually they just symbolize like passion and fire. I actually gotta set up another one.